People getting YouTube open here. My speaker is working. Time. Live. Let's do a screenshot. Top of the day, beautiful people. That's horrible. Okay. Make sure who's live on over here. And YouTube. Okay. Good. We live now. All right, beautiful people. Top of the day. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, everybody. I'm going to do this here real quick. We're actually coming up on the actual law, y'all. We about to hear it in 2 days. In 2 days, we'll hear it. I'll put this down here. Okay, y'all. Top of the day, happy Sunday, Betwabu, great rising, everybody. All right, so today it is Sunday, January 10th, 2021, day 47 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 716. Let's see. Okay. All right, y'all. So today we're reading Exodus 13, 14, and 15. Let's go ahead and get started so we can get through the reading. I know yesterday Exodus was a little longer. It took a little longer to read than what I expected. So let's go ahead and get started and do the Shema. We'll start with the Shema. Okay. All right, y'all. We're going to hop right into it over here. Okay, remember the Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 3. I would recommend you read the entire chapter. I just pulled it right out the middle, so make sure you always read the scripture in context, right? Okay. Hear, therefore, Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuah, our God, He is one God. And you shall love Yahuah, your God, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuah our God, for our good always, that He might preserve us alive, as it is this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do these commandments before Yahuah our God, as He has commanded us. Yes, I know Shema, right? Have y'all, I'm going to post today. It's a few people that actually sung the Shema. I've actually done it. I've posted it before, but it's been a while ago. Shema Yisrael, Yahuah Eloheinu, Yahuah Echad. I'm sure y'all heard that. I'm going to post it. It's a few people that posted me. Let me make sure. Make myself a note so I don't forget that. Post a few people singing the Shema. My kids love it, especially Bella. They love to sing it. Okay, so let's pull this up real quick. Exodus. There we go. All right, y'all. Exodus chapter 13. We're talking about the dedication of firstborn. Okay. Then Yahuah said to Moses, dedicate to me every firstborn among the Israelites. How many of y'all are firstborns? Me? I'm a firstborn. Y'all firstborns? I'm a firstborn too. Okay. Then Yahuah said to Moses, dedicate to me every firstborn among the Israelites. The first offspring to be born, both of humans and animals, belongs to me. So Moses said to the people, this is a day to remember forever, the day you left Egypt, the place of your slavery. Today Yahuah has brought you out by the power of his mighty hand. Remember, eat no food containing yeast. So remember yesterday we left off, it was Passover. Then they left out during the first day of unleavened bread because they didn't have it. Well, Yahuah had already told them not to put it in there. But this was why, because on this day he brought us out. But remember, they're in Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? Okay. And so it's a 7-day feast, and for 8 days, well, 7.5 days, you don't eat yeast, because he also said on Passover, Passover begun the night before the 14th day at evening. From that point, you're not to eat any yeast in any of your food. Okay. Remember, eat no food containing yeast. On this day in early spring, that's how we also know that the first month is springtime. Remember a couple of days ago we was talking about how the Jewish people, they celebrated like in the fall, like you don't begin life in the fall. Everything begins anew at like conception, the baby. Everything begins new and it grows to spring, summer, fall, winter. Spring being the adolescent, the infant stages of our life, and as we grow through the teenage years and early adulthood until the later years, the winter of our life, that's when we go. Man, I'm the third of my mama and the second of my dad. I'm definitely not the first. Hey, but just know you was born in the perfect order where you who thought you should be, Trina. Just remember that. Remember, eat no food containing yeast. On this day in early spring, in the month of Abib, you have been set free. You must celebrate this event in the month each year after Yahuah brings you into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, and Jebusites. He swore to your ancestors that he would give you this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And remember, guys, peace and blessings, Aliyah. Remember, I know I said this a lot of times before, but just in case you did not hear me any one of those times, remember this promised land, and I'm not doing this because it's not, but the promised land, listen to it, it's the promised land when they first, after the flood, when they first divided the earth. The promised land is the actual land that belongs to us. It was the lot that fell to Shem. Remember, Ham, his descendants decided that they would not go to their land because they saw that our land was the best portion, and they decided to take up residence in our land. Even Noah told them, you cannot be here, this is not your land, but they would not listen. Even Japheth told them, this is Shem's land, you cannot be here, but Yahuah allowed it to be so that they took up residence in our land, right? Okay, so the promised land is in fact deeded to us, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the true Shemitic or the true Semitic people, right? It was our land from the very beginning. Somebody else just took it over and won't get up out of our house. So, but when Yahuah brings back, he said, I'm bringing you into the land of the Canaanites. Of course, when they went there, they named the land after them. But the land of the Canaanites actually belongs to the Shem and all the descendants forever. All right, just in case you never knew that or you missed it reading or just read over it and it didn't really click, okay? But you can also read that in Jasher. And you can also read that in the Legends of the Jews and a few other places as well, okay? You must celebrate this event each year after Yahuah brings you into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, and Jebusites, which is our land. He swore to your ancestors that he would give you this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. For 7 days, the bread you must eat must be made without yeast. Then on the 7th day, celebrate a feast to Yahuah. Eat bread without yeast during those 7 days. In fact, there must be no bread or yeast at all found within the borders of your land at this time. So not just get it out your house and go put it in like the car or something, or at your business place or at your job. If we were actually in our own land, Yahuah said, I don't want it found in the land at all. So we got time to do that, right? That's why you start ahead of time and make sure you clean it out. On the seventh day, you must explain to your children, I am celebrating what Yahuah did for me when I left Egypt. This annual feast will be a visible sign to you. Hold on. I lost my place doing all that, trying to point my fingers in my eyes. Hold on. Okay. This annual festival will be a visible sign to you, like a mark branded on your hand or your forehead. Let it remind you always to recite this teaching to Yahuah. With a strong hand, Yahuah has rescued you from Egypt. So observe the decree of this festival at the appointed time each year. This is what you must do when Yahuah fulfills the promise he swore to you and your ancestors. When he gives you the land where the Canaanites now live, you must present all firstborn sons and firstborn male animals to Yahuah, for they belong to him. A firstborn donkey may be bought back from Yahuah by presenting a lamb or a young goat in its place. But if you do not buy it back, you must break its neck. However, you must buy back every firstborn son. And in the future, your children will ask you, what does all this mean? Then you will tell them, with the power of his mighty hand, Yahuah brought us out of the place of Egypt, our slavery. Boom. I never got that. That never made sense until just now. He said you are to remember what he told Moses to tell Pharaoh. He said, Israel is my firstborn son. Not just one person, but the whole of us who were within the borders of Egypt that he had now put under hard labor. All of Israel, he said, that's my son, my chosen, my servant, Jacob, Israel. Shalom, shalom, Mom. He said, that's my firstborn son. So listen again to this when I read this. In the future, your children will ask you, what does all this mean? Then you will tell them, with the power of his... Hold on, I got to go back up. I'm sorry. This is what you must do when Yahuah fulfills the promise he swore to you and your ancestors. When he gives you the land where the Canaanites now live, you must present all firstborn sons and firstborn male animals to Yahuah, for they belong to him. Israel is my firstborn, firstborn among all the nations, my chosen one, my son. You must present all firstborn sons and firstborn male animals to Yahuah, for they belong to him. Remember, son also comprises the women. He wasn't just say, bring me all the men, leave the women and the children. No, son represents the men and the women. I know some people get kind of sexist when they read the scriptures, but Yahuah is very specific about the wording he uses. Just like with us, in relation to him, we're all male and female, are the bride of our Messiah, right? Okay, so let's not get caught up on words and stuff where we're not paying attention to that. When he gives you the land where the Canaanites now live, you must present all firstborn sons and firstborn male animals to Yahuah, for they belong to him. A firstborn donkey may be bought back from Yahuah by presenting a lamb or a young goat in its place. But if you do not buy it back, you must break its neck. However, you must buy back every firstborn son. And in the future, your children will ask you, what does all this mean? What does the buying back of the firstborns, what does this mean? Then you will tell them, with the power of his mighty hand, Yahuah brought us, his son, his firstborn son, out of the land of Egypt, both people and animals. And this is why I now sacrifice all firstborn males to Yahuah, except that the firstborn sons are always bought back. This ceremony will be like a mark branded on your hand and your forehead. It is a reminder that the power of Yahuah's mighty hand brought us out of Egypt. So when we actually go through here and keep these commands and repeat these ceremonies and practice these ceremonies every year, Yahuah said it will be like a mark on you, branded on your forehead and on your hands. Y'all hear about people talking about the mark of the beast? Well, this is the mark of Yah, us keeping his commands and keeping them every year doing these feasts. He said it will be like a mark branded on your hand or your forehead. It is a reminder that the power of Yahuwah's mighty hand brought us out of Egypt. So don't ever forget that. We carry Yahuwah's mark when we keep his commands and do what he asks us to do every year, right? So we don't forget him and forget that he is our mighty one. And we shall always go to him first. Is there not a prophet of Israel among us? Is there not a prophet of Yahuwah among us? Should not we inquire of Yahuwah first? Think about it. Every time they want us to go get information from the wise men or from whoever, they said there was always a true prophet of Yah. They said, is there not a true prophet of Yahuwah where we could inquire of Yahuwah first before we take on this decision or before we decide to go do this? When Pharaoh finally let the people go, Yahuwah did not lead them along the main road that runs through Philistine territory, even though that was the shortest route to the promised land. Yahuwah said if the people are faced with a battle, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So Yahuwah led them in a roundabout way to the wilderness toward the Red Sea. Thus the Israelites left Egypt like an army ready for battle. Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, and Joseph had made the sons of Israel swear to do this. He said, Yahuwah will certainly come to help you. When he does, you must take my bones with you from this place. The Israelites left Sukkoth and encamped at Etham on the edge of the wilderness. Yahuwah went ahead of them. He guided them during the day with a pillar of cloud, and he provided light at night with pillar of fire. This allowed them to travel by day or by night, and Yahuwah did not remove the pillar of the cloud of fire from its place in front of the people. Now, y'all remember I guess it's been about a couple weeks now. Remember when we read the portion when they were actually coming out the wilderness and Yahuwah wanted to literally be there in their midst, was like, oh no, we can't do this. And Yahuwah got mad with him. He said, you know what? I'm going to send my angel before you, so he can guide you. He said, because y'all ticking me off now. He said, and I might kill y'all. Right? So that's now why the angel is down there before and after us, but he himself wanted to be here. And we're going to read that part again when we get to it. So, but I just want to bring that out. This is where that was, right? Okay. Exodus chapter 14. Then Yahuwah gave these instructions to Moses. Order the Israelites to turn back and camp at Pi-Hahiroth between Migdol and the sea. Camp there along the shore across from Baal-Zephon. Then Pharaoh will think the Israelites are confused. They are trapped in the wilderness. And once again, I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will chase after you. I have planned this in order to display my glory through Pharaoh and his whole army. After this, the Egyptians will know that I am God. So the Israelites camped there as they were told. When the word reached the king of Egypt, the Israelites had fled. When the word reached the king of Egypt that the Israelites had fled, Pharaoh ordered his officials. Pharaoh and his officials changed his mind. What have we done, letting all those Israelite slaves get away? They asked. So Pharaoh harnessed his chariot and called up his troops. He took with him 600 of Egypt's best chariots, along with the rest of the chariots of Egypt, each with its commander. Yahuwah hardened the heart of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, so he chased after the people of Israel who had left with fists raised in defiance. Think about people when they about to be out of somewhere, or like a great example, say some people when they win the lottery that they show on the news, they go back to their job, they dancing all over the counters and I'm out of here, I'm sick of this place, I ain't like you anyway. That's what Egypt, that's what Israel was doing in Egypt. Okay. So he chased after the people of Israel who had left with fists raised in defiance. The Egyptians chased after them with all the forces in Pharaoh's army, all his horses and chariots, his charioteers, and his troops. The Egyptians caught up with the people of Israel as they camped beside the shore near Pi-Hathron, across from Baal-Zephon. As Pharaoh approached, the people of Israel looked up and panicked when they saw the Egyptians overtaking them. They cried out to Yahuah, and they said to Moses, "Why did you bring us out here to die in the wilderness? Weren't there enough graves left for us in Egypt? What have you done to us? Why did you make us leave Egypt? Didn't we tell you that this would happen while we were still in Egypt? We said, leave us alone. Let us be slaves to the Egyptians. It's better to be a slave in Egypt than to be a corpse in the wilderness." Ungrateful regions, y'all. I'm telling you. But Moses told the people, "Don't be afraid. Just stand still and watch Yahuah rescue you today. The Egyptians you see today will never be seen again. Yahuah himself will fight for you. Just stay calm." Then Yahuah said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to get moving. Pick up your staff and raise your hand over the sea and divide the waters so the Israelites can walk through the middle of the sea on dry ground, and I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they will charge after the Israelites. My great glory will be displayed through Pharaoh and his troops, his chariots, and his charioteers. When my glory is displayed through them, all of Egypt will see my glory and know that I am God." Then the angel of Yahuah, who had been leading the people of Israel, moved to the rear of the camp. The pillar of cloud also moved from the front and stood behind them. The cloud settled between the Egyptians and Israelite camps. As darkness fell, the cloud turned to fire, lighting up the night. But the Egyptians and Israelites did not approach each other all night. Then Moses raised his hand over the sea, and Yahuah opened up a path through the water with a strong east wind. The wind blew all that night, turning the seabed into dry land. So all the people of Israel walked right through the middle of the sea on dry ground with walls of water on each side. Yes, for the props, I know, right? I'm really hoping we'll get to use this, or somebody going to use this in the future, right? I really hope we are. Okay. Then the Egyptians, all of Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and charioteers chased them into the middle of the sea. But just before dawn, Yahuah looked down on the Egyptian army from the pillar of fire and cloud, and he threw their forces into total confusion. He twisted their chariot wheels, making their chariots difficult to drive. "Let's get out of here, away from these Israelites," the Egyptians shouted. "Yahuah is fighting for them against Egypt." When all the Israelites had reached the other side, Yahuah said to Moses, "Raise your hand over the sea again. Then the waters will rush back and cover the Egyptians and their chariots and charioteers." So as the sun began to rise, Moses raised his hand over the sea, and the water rushed back into its usual place. The Egyptians tried to escape, but Yahuah swept them into the sea. Then the waters returned and covered all the chariots and charioteers, the entire army of Pharaoh. Of all the Egyptians who had chased the Israelites into the sea, not a single one survived. But the people of Israel had walked through the middle of the sea on dry ground, as the water stood up like a wall on both sides. This is how Yahuah rescued Israel from the hand of the Egyptians that day. And the Israelites saw the bodies of the Egyptians washed up on the seashore. When the people of Israel saw the mighty power that Yahuah had unleashed against the Egyptians, they were filled with awe before him. And they put their faith in Yahuah and his servant Moses. I'm ready for y'all to blow my mind too, Shae. I'm telling you. Okay, y'all. Exodus chapter 15. Then we're going to hop right on over here to Legends of the Jews. Then Moses and the people of Israel sang this song to Yahuah. "I will sing to Yahuah, for he has greatly triumphed. gloriously. He has hurled both horse and rider into the sea. Yahuah is my strength and my song. He has given me victory. This is my God, and I will praise him, my father's God, and I will exalt him. Yahuah is a warrior. Yahuah is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and army he has hurled into the sea. The finest of Pharaoh's officers are drowned in the Red Sea. The deep waters gushed over them. They sank to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yah, is glorious in power. Your right hand, O Yah, smashes the enemy. In the greatness of your majesty, you overthrow those who rise against you. You unleash your blazing fury. It consumes them like straw. At the blast of your breath, the waters piled up. The surging waters stood straight like a wall. In the heart of the sea, the deep waters became hard. The enemy boasted, I will chase them and catch up with them. I will plunder them and consume them. I will flash my sword. My powerful hand will destroy them. But you blew your breath, and the sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you among the gods, O Yah, glorious in holiness, awesome in splendor, performing great wonders? You raised your right hand, and the earth swallowed our enemies. With your unfailing love, you lead your people you have redeemed. In your might, you guide them to your sacred home. The peoples hear and tremble. Anguish grips those who live in Philistia. The leaders of Edom are terrified, and the nobles of Moab tremble. All who live in Canaan melt away. Terror and dread fall upon them. The power of your arm makes them lifeless as a stone, until your people pass by, O Yah, until the people you purchase pass by. You will bring them in and plant them on your own mountain, the place, O Yah, reserved for your dwelling, the sanctuary, O Yah, that your hands have established. Yahuah will reign forever and ever. Ooh, that's so good, y'all. When Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and charioteers rushed into the sea, Yahuah brought the water crashing down on them. But the people of Israel had walked through the middle of the sea on dry ground. Then Miriam, the prophet, Aaron's sister, took a tambourine and led all the women as they played their tambourines and danced. And Miriam sang this song. Sing to Yahuah, for he has triumphed gloriously. He has hurled both horse and rider into the sea. Then Moses led the people of Israel away from the Red Sea, and they moved out into the desert of Shur. They traveled in this desert for 3 days without finding any water. When they came to the oasis of Marah, the water was too bitter to drink, so they called the place Marah, which means bitter. And then the people complained and turned against Moses. What are we to drink? They demanded. So Moses cried out to Yahuah for help, and Yahuah showed him a piece of wood. Moses threw it in the water and made the water good to drink. It was there at Marah that Yahuah set before them the following decree as a standard to test their faithfulness to him. He said, if you will listen carefully to the voice of Yahuah, your God, and do what is right in his sight, obeying his commands and keeping all his decrees, then I will not make you suffer any of the diseases I sent on the Egyptians, for I am Yahuah who heals you. After leaving Marah, the Israelites traveled on to the oasis of Elim, where they found 12 springs and 70 palm trees. They camped there beside the water. Okay, y'all, so that's our reading in Exodus for today. Let us go ahead and hop on over here to the legends of the Jews. We're going to pick up here in this section with Jethro. On page 217 if you got my book. And if you have the other book, it's the section Jethro, volume 2. All right, y'all. Okay. In the city of Midian, thus named for a son of Abraham by Keturah, the man Jethro had lived many years doing the priest service before the idols. Let me say something. somebody made a comment on one of my, he may watch it today. You know, I appreciate him making a comment because it made me go double back. It made me, well, double back or go back again and check myself about Keturah. Remember when we found out after Sarah had passed away that Abraham took a wife unto himself and her name was Keturah? Y'all remember that? It's in the Bible. But what the Bible doesn't tell you is that Keturah is actually Hagar. And if you read, matter of fact, when we, hold on, did we read that already? But anyway, in that video, I'll post it here today. Again, like I posted it for him. It's the ending of Abraham's, hold on, Abraham. Let me tell you the page real quick in a section, because I just posted it like last night. Abraham. Okay, it's back here. But it gives you the detail on Hebron, Jacob. Okay. Patron of Hebron. The last years of Abraham, right? Okay. Listen, I'm going to read this real quick. It's on page 94, mark page 94. Yes, Tiffany, we read it a few days back. But I guess he's not here daily or whatever, so he's going back, so he's missing some of the stuff. And if people are not familiar with some of the other manuscripts, they say, well, what are you talking about, girl? You reading heresy? No, they haven't been here from the beginning, so they're kind of jumping in, adding in comments where they're not familiar with some stuff. That's why we're going through reading all this. But just in case you're watching today, brother, I really appreciate your question, but it made me go back and double check. I was like, wait a minute, did I get it wrong? Okay, so it's on page 94. It's the section, the last years of Abraham. But if you go back to the beginning of this section too, you get more detail on Hagar and the sons. She didn't just bear Ishmael to Abraham. She gave Abraham more sons and also a daughter. So on page 94, in Legends of the Jews, in the section that's titled The Last Years of Abraham. Matter of fact, we read it January the 2nd, because I put the dates up here. And it says, Rebekah first saw Isaac as he was coming from the way of Beer-lahai-roi, the dwelling place of Hagar, whither he had gone after the death of his mother. Remember, Sarah was already passed away. Whither he had gone after the death of his mother, for the purpose of reuniting his father with Hagar, or as she is also called, Keturah, right? Hagar bore him 6 sons, who, however, did scant to honor their father, for they were all idolaters. Therefore, during his own lifetime, sent them away from the presence of Isaac, that they might not be singed by Isaac's flame, and gave them instructions to journey eastward as far as possible. So Keturah is Hagar, y'all. So, but he didn't realize that, so he wasn't there. But I did. I put the references in there for him to go read. So that's why I do that every day, just in case people hop in and they haven't been here with us from the beginning, or at least far enough or long enough to put the pieces together. That's why I always leave the references. And I may get it wrong sometime, or I could read something wrong. That's why I put it there. I really want you guys on your own time to go back and read it. Just in case I made a mistake, I really want y'all to come say something to me so I can go back and I can double check myself. And if in fact I was wrong, I'm like, you know what, such and such, I was wrong. Let me correct this, and this is what, I believe it is, So, but I really do. I really appreciate that, So I just wanted to read that. Okay. Back to page 217, or the section Jethro. In the city of Midian, named thus for a son of Abraham by Keturah, the man Jethro had lived for many years, doing a priest service before the idols. As time went on, he grew more and more convinced of the vanity of idol worship. His priesthood became repugnant to him, and he resolved to give up his charge. He stood before his townsmen and said, "Until now I have performed your service before the idols. But I have grown too old for the duties of the office. Choose therefore whom you would choose in my place." Speaking thus, he delivered to the people all the paraphernalia appertaining to the idol worship, and bade them transfer them to one whom, in their discretion, they should entrust his position. Suspecting Jethro's hidden moves, the people put him under the ban, and none might venture to do him the slightest service. Not even would the shepherds pasture his flocks, and there was nothing for him to do but impose his work upon his 7 daughters. Jethro's transformation from an idolatrous priest into a God-fearing man is conveyed in his 7 names. He was called Jether because the Torah contains an additional section about him. Jethro, he overflowed with good deeds. Hobab, the beloved son of Yahuah. Ruel, the friend of God. Tiffany, your comment from the other day, you're right. I think it's one. Yeah, Trina, I remember you telling us the other day that she was Hagar. Did I spell that right? Hagar, I think is 1G. I'm sorry. Let me look back. What page say? Say page 71. It's 1G. 6, 12. I mean, the first. It's 1G, Trina. Let me read it in a second. Yeah. 1G, Hagar. Okay. So, remember, Tiffany, you was asking the other day, was that the same, Ruel? You asked, was that the same one? I think Moses' wife's dad. Okay. Ruel, the friend of God. Heber, the associate of Yahuah. Putiel, he that hath renounced idolatry. And Kenny, he that was zealous for Yahuah and acquired the Torah. In consequence of the hostile relation between Jethro and the inhabitants of the city, his daughters were in the habit of making their appearance at the watering troughs before the other shepherds came thither. But the ruse was not successful. The shepherds would drive them away and water their own flocks in the troughs that the maidens had filled. When Moses arrived at Midian, it was at the well that he made halt, and his experience was the same as Isaac's and Jacob's. Like them, he found his helpmeet there. Rebekah had been selected by Eleazar as the wife of Isaac while she was busy drawing water for him. Jacob had seen Rachel first while she was watering her sheep at this well in Midian. Moses met his future wife Zipporah. The rudeness of the shepherds reached its climax the very day of Moses' arrival. First, they deprived the maidens of the water they had drawn for themselves and attempted to do violence to them, and then they drew them into the water with the intent to kill them. At this moment, Moses appeared, dragged the maidens out of the water, and gave the flocks to drink. First Jethro's and then the flocks of the shepherds, though the latter did not deserve his good offices. True, he did them the service, but with little trouble to himself, for he had only to draw a bucketful of the water. For he had to only draw a bucketful, and the water flowed so copiously that it sufficed for all the herds, and it did not cease to flow until Moses withdrew from the well, the same well at which Jacob met Rachel, his future wife, and the same well that Yahuah created at the beginning of the world, the opening of which he made in the twilight of the first Sabbath eve. Hey guys, voices down please. Jethro's daughters thanked Moses for the assistance he afforded them, but Moses warded off their gratitude, saying, "Your thanks are due to the Egyptian I killed, on the account of whom I had to flee from Egypt. Had it not been for him, I should not be here now." Of the 7 maidens whom Moses saw at the well, attracted his notice, in particular on account of her modest demeanor, he made her a proposal of marriage. But Zipporah repulsed him, saying, "My father has a tree in his garden with which he tests every man that expresses a desire to marry one of his daughters. And as soon as the suitor touches the tree, he is devoured by it." Moses: "Whence has he this tree?" Zipporah: "It is the rod of the Holy One, blessed be he, created in the twilight of the first Sabbath eve, and gave to Adam. He transmitted it to Enoch. From him it descended to Noah, then to Shem, and Abraham and Isaac, and finally Jacob, who brought it with him to Egypt and gave it to his son Joseph. When Joseph died, the Egyptians pillaged his house, and the rod which was in their booty they brought to Pharaoh's palace." Remember yesterday I told y'all about the sword and the stone and where this and where this story came from, that's not something somebody else thought of. They pulled this from our history. Remember yesterday, I told you we was going to read about it today? We're about to come upon this. This is where they got the whole fairy tale, which is not a fairy tale at all. They pulled it from the life of Moses. So listen. At that time, my father was one of the most of the prominent king's sacred scribes, and as such, he had the opportunity of seeing the rod. He felt a great desire to possess it, and he stole it and took it to his house. On this rod, the Ineffable name is engraven, and also the 10 plagues that Yahuah will cause to visit the Egyptians in a future day. For many years, it lay in my father's house. One day, he was walking in his garden carrying it, and he stuck it in the ground. When he attempted to draw it out again, hey, guys, chill. Jace. I'm sorry. Hold on. For many years, it lay in my father's house. One day, he was walking in his garden carrying it, and he stuck it in the ground. When he attempted to draw it out again, he found that it had sprouted and was putting forth blossoms. That is the rod with which he tries any that desires to marry his daughters. He insists that our suitors shall attempt to pull it out of the ground, but as soon as they touch it, it devours them. Having given him this account of their father's rod, Zipporah went home, accompanied by her sisters, and Moses followed them. Jethro was not a little amazed to see his daughters return so soon from the watering troughs. As a rule, the chicanery they had to suffer from the shepherds detained them until late. No sooner had he heard their report about the wonder-working Egyptian than he exclaimed, "Mayhap he is one of the descendants of Abraham, from whom issueth blessings for the whole world." Ooh, listen to this. I was just reading that. It is so good. I'm just super excited for the days to come when he actually returns all of this to us. Like, I be every day dancing around him like, "Father, is it today? Will it be this day, Father? Will it be this day? Will it be this day?" Whatever day it is, I'm waiting. I want to be alive to see this, because there's so much chicanery going on here in the land of America that we need you this day. Okay, all right. Okay, hold on. No sooner had he heard their report about the wonder-working Egyptian than he exclaimed, "Mayhap he is one of the descendants of Abraham, from whom issueth blessing from the whole world." He rebuked his daughters for not having invited the stranger that had done them so valuable a service to come into their house, and he ordered them to fetch him in the hope that he would take one of his daughters to wife. Moses had been standing without all this time and had not allowed Jethro's daughters to describe him. Moses had been standing without all this time and had allowed Jethro's daughters to describe him as an Egyptian without protesting and asserting his Hebrew birth. For this, Yahuah punished him by causing him to die outside of the promised land. Joseph, who had proclaimed in public that he was a Hebrew, found his last resting place in the land of the Hebrews, and Moses, who apparently had no objection to being considered an Egyptian, had to live and die outside of that land. Zipporah hastened forth to execute her father's wish, and no sooner had she ushered him in than Moses requested her hand in marriage. Jethro replied, "If thou canst bring me the rod in my garden, I will give her to thee." Moses went out, found the sapphire rod that Yahuah had bestowed upon Adam when he was driven forth from paradise, the rod that had reached Jethro after manifold vicissitudes, and he had planted it in the garden, Moses uprooted it and carried it to Jethro, who conceived the idea at once that he was the prophet in Israel concerning all the wise men of Egypt had foretold that he would destroy their land and its inhabitants. As soon as this thought struck him, he seized Moses, threw him into a pit in the expectation that he would meet his death there. And indeed, he would have perished if Zipporah had not devised a stratagem to save his life. She said to her father, "Would it were thy will to hearken unto my counsel? Thou hast no wife, but only 7 daughters. Dost thou desire my 6 sisters to preside over thy household? Shall I go abroad with the sheep? If not, let my sisters tend the flocks, and I shall take care of the house." Her father said, "Thou hast spoken well. Thy 6 sisters shall go forth with the sheep, and thou shalt abide in the house and take care of it, and all that belongeth to me therein." Now Zipporah could provide Moses with all sorts of dainties as he lay in the pit, and she did for the space of 7 years. At the expiration of this period, she said to her father, "I recollect that once upon a time thou did cast into yonder pit a man that had fetched thy rod from the garden for thee, and thou did commit a great trespass thereby. If it seem well to thee, uncover the pit and look into it. If the man is dead, throw his corpse away, lest he fill the house with a stench." I mean, after 7 years, you say this? That body should have been stinking and reeking after 7 years. By this time, the stench probably would have been went away. "But should he be alive, then thou oughtest to be convinced that he is one of those who are wholly pious, else he had died of hunger." The reply of Jethro was, "Thou hast spoken wisely. Dost thou remember his name?" And Zipporah rejoined, "I remember he called himself Moses, the son of Amram." Sis been talking to Moses every day, bringing him food and stuff. I think, I think he said his name was Moses, the son of Amram. She playing a part. Jethro lost no time. He opened the pit and called out, "Moses, Moses." Moses replied and said, "Here I am." Jethro drew him up out of the pit, kissed him, and said, "Blessed be Yah, who guarded thee for 7 years in the pit. I acknowledge that he slayeth and revived, that thou art one of the holy pious, that through thee Yahuah will destroy Egypt in the time to come, lead his people out of the land, and drown Pharaoh and his whole army into the sea." Like they knew all of this ahead of time, people. Like it didn't surprise them. That's why they was killing all the male children. Like they saw before all of this came about exactly what was going to happen. Remember, they said the water that Moses, his fate was the water. So they figured, oh, he must going to die by the water. That's why they decided to drown all the Hebrew boys and stuff, right? Okay, reread that, please. Misha, I just looked up. What part did you say reread? I must have been read. I don't know. If you just posted that, which part? I'll go back up here to the reply of Jethro. The reply of Jethro was, "Thou hast spoken wisely. Dost thou remember his name?" And Zipporah rejoined, "I remember he called himself Moses, the son of Amram." Jethro lost no time. He opened the pit and called out, "Moses, Moses." Moses replied and said, "Here am I." Jethro, hey guys, voice is low. Jethro drew him up out of the pit, kissed him, and said, "Blessed be Yah, who guarded thee for 7 years in the pit. I acknowledge that he slayeth and reviveth, and thou art wholly pious, that through thee Yahuah will destroy Egypt in the time to come, and lead his people out of the land, and drown Pharaoh and his whole army in the sea." Thereupon Jethro gave much money to Moses, and he bestowed his daughter Zipporah upon him as wife, giving her to him under the condition that the children born of the marriage in Jethro's house should be divided into 2 equal classes. The one to be the one to be Israelitish, the other Egyptian. When Zipporah bore him a son, Moses circumcised him and called him Gershom, as a memorial of the wonder Yahuah had done for him, although he lived in a strange land, and Yahuah had not refused him aid even there. Zipporah nursed her first child for 2 years, and in the 3rd year she bore a second son. Remembering his compact with Jethro, Moses realized that his father-in-law would not permit him to circumcise this one too, and he determined to return to Egypt, that he might have the opportunity of bringing up his second son as an Israelite. On the journey thither, Satan appeared to him in the guise of a serpent and swallowed Moses down to his extremities. Zipporah knew by this token was the thing that happened because her second son had not been circumcised. If we go back and read, a little portion is left out. We think it's, hold on to make sure I get that right. But we didn't know it was the second son that Zipporah had circumcised because Moses didn't do it. It tells us in Exodus that Moses didn't circumcise his son and Zipporah did. Now you are a bridegroom of blood to me. But it was the second son, Gershom. Moses had in fact circumcised himself. But the second one, because of the promise he made to Jethro, Zipporah's father, he didn't circumcise the second son, and Zipporah was the one who actually did. That's this detail right here. I'll read that again. Let me go back up here. I'll go back and read the whole thing. Thereupon Jethro gave much money to Moses, and he bestowed his daughter Zipporah upon him as a wife, giving her to him under the condition that the child born of the marriage in Jethro's house should be divided into two equal classes, one to be Israelitish, the other Egyptian. When Zipporah bore him a son, Moses circumcised him and called him Gershom as a memorial of the wonder Yahuah had done for him. For although he lived in a strange land, Yahuah had not refused him aid even there. Zipporah nursed her first child for 2 years, and in the 3rd year she bore a second son. Remembering his compact with Jethro, Moses realized that his father-in-law would not permit him to circumcise this one too, and he determined to return to Egypt, that he might have the opportunity of bringing up his second son as an Israelite. On the journey thither, Satan appeared to him in the guise of a serpent and swallowed Moses down to his extremities. Zipporah knew by this token that the thing had happened because her second son had not been circumcised, and she hastened to make good the omission. As soon as she sprinkled the blood of the circumcision on her husband's feet, a heavenly voice was heard to cry out to the serpent, commanding him, "Spew him out." And Moses came forth and stood upon his feet. Thus Zipporah saved Moses' life twice, first from the pit and then from the serpent. Well, I'm telling you, it pays to have a good wife that's looking out for you, right? So choose wisely, men. Choose wisely. Pray and know that Yah will give you a good, pious wife, a good girl that's going to help you. I hate to miss the reading, but I got to go working at the COVID-19 testing sites today. Okay, Trina, be safe. Love you. Okay, remember it's recorded. Come back later. Okay. Right, y'all. As soon as she sprinkled the blood of the circumcision on her husband's feet, a heavenly voice was heard to cry out to the serpent, commanding him, "Spew him out." And Moses came forth and stood upon his feet. Thus Zipporah saved Moses' life twice, first from the pit and then from the serpent. When Moses arrived in Egypt, he was approached by Dathan and Abiram, the leaders of the Israelites, and they spake, "Come thou hither to slay us, or dost thou purpose to do the same with us as thou did with the Egyptian?" This drove Moses straightway back to Midian, and there he remained 2 more years, until Yahuah revealed himself at Horeb, and said to him, "Go and bring forth my children out of the land of Egypt." Okay, y'all, and we're going to stop here today, because this next section is going to take me a little while to read. And plus, the kids is already up, and we already at 52 minutes. Okay, so what happens now to some of our people whom aren't circumcised in our captivity? Would they automatically be cast away by the Most High Yahuah? I don't think so, Aliyah. I really don't think so. Remember, we're in the land of our captivity. There was a lot of things that we could not do. And because of that, there's a grace for us, so to speak. Because for one, we're not in the land we're not in the promised land. And things that he said you must do while you are here, otherwise the land will spew you out. Remember when he said he was going to cast us out and scatter us to the four corners of the earth. He said, and there you will worship the multiple gods and do all the manner of the people who live in those lands. But still, he protects a lot of us while we're here when we return to him and cry out. And because when the land made, and yeah, I know, not that I know personally, but I've heard not all of our people are circumcised. I'm not saying, I think a great majority are, simply because here if they were born in a hospital, right? If they were born in a hospital in America, unless the mother specifically said, do not circumcise my son, which I don't really think any of our people would say, even if they don't know that this is a part of the covenant that Yahuah allows us to keep, even by default from our captors a lot of times, that they automatically circumcise. And even though it's not on the 8th day, it's like the 2nd day after the baby born in the hospital, because they push you out. They try and push you out, really. They try and push you out on the first day. The first day after you had a baby, but you there in the hospital at least, I know at least here, at least 2 days after you have your baby, so they circumcise them on like the 2nd day of their life, for real. But still, it's being done, so they're circumcised. But no, to answer your question, no, I don't believe Yahuah will cast those of us who are still in captivity. I do not believe, because we really had no control over that. We really don't, right? Unless they get older. Yeah. It's definitely the grace of the Most High that we're in. Yeah, absolutely. So, but all right, y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed the reading for today. We'll pick this back up tomorrow. I have something else. No, I'm going to just remember to post the Shema. And I went back and read. I post today, too, just in case. I post a video from when I actually read about the Torah. I post a video, and in that video is the section of what we read. So okay, so these two things, that was it. Okay, y'all. So I hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today. It is Sunday, January the 10th, 2021, day 47 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count. We have been reading for 716 days. Yes, 716, y'all. And we read Exodus 13, 14, and 15, and then the Legends of the Jews. I always forget right down my page. We started at page 212 all the way to page 2. No, I'm sorry. We started at page 217. I'm sorry, 217 to 219. Okay, so remember, I always put these notes in the description box and like Facebook and YouTube if you're reading and stuff. So if you're ever curious, you can just click on, do the little drop down box and find out. And I also put the places in there. If you don't have a copy of the book, I put the link for Amazon where you can purchase it. It's a couple different people that's selling it. I gave you the link where I purchased mine from, because I know you're going to get the full thing. Because I know as I look through it, it's not like the full 4 volumes. So it's a big book. See how it's sitting on my head? It's the big book. I know some of them are smaller. My mom actually ordered, she got the smaller one, but all 4 volumes is there. But just double check and make sure all 4 volumes are there. And this is the bigger book, right? So you see how big it is in relation to my head, right? Okay. So you can purchase it there if you want your own copy. If you're not able, and the price, last time I looked, it was $35. I know a couple weeks ago it was a little sale and they dropped the price from $35 to like $17, and it could have been because so many people were purchasing it, because a lot of people sent me private messages and told me they had purchased it. I know you don't see a lot of people responding to this, but there's an average on both places. Like, there's an average about 30-something people that watch the daily video on YouTube, and on Facebook it ranges between like 20 and 30-something people. So it's people from both places that watch from both platforms where they went and purchased the book, and they was purchasing it from the link that I had put up there. So maybe the person who was selling it saw that it was selling more, so they decreased the price. But the price was only like $17 for like a week, and then when I went back, they jumped the price back up to $35. So I don't know, maybe they'll decrease the price again, but it's $35. But if you can't purchase it, I also put in the description box the link on sacredtext.com where you can actually go and pull it up and read it online. If you want to listen to it, say you're working or something, you will put it in your ear or clean it, whatever, you can put it in your ear because somebody has read it, and it's a really good, clear recording without all the extra talking and stories like I do, and they read right through it. And it's a LibriVox recording. But anyway, that link for the YouTube where you can listen to it up there is there as well. But also, when you go to that link, if you haven't noticed, if you drop down in their description box, they have time markers for each section of this. So say if you don't want to, say you're in volume 1, but you want to skip to Abraham, it has it broken out by subsections in the description box with the time, and just click on the time. Maybe say like 8:15 point in here. Just click on it. It'll be, the time will be lit up in blue, and you can just click on that and it'll jump right to that section for you. So, and I posted that one because I like how detailed it is. So somebody may be looking for a particular section in there, and they can just do the drop down box and find it, boom, and go right to it, you know. So I try to give you a couple different ways so you can go back and listen to it or research behind me. Like I said, I don't know it all. This is literally my first time reading through with you guys. Granted, I do listen to it throughout the day, and technically it's not my first time, but it's my first time reading it out loud. But I am listening to it, you know. But I'm doing some jumping around. Sometimes I'm going through, because I try to take in everything, right? So, but I put that there for you guys, so you can go back and listen to it on your own time or what have you. All right, y'all. With that being said, let's go ahead and do the blessing. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, yes. Let's go ahead and do the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow. And Yahuah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuah bless us and keep us. May Yahuah make his face shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. That is it. We can go ahead and get out of here. Thank you everybody for hanging out with me today. All right, gotta go. They on 10 already. All right, y'all. Love y'all. See y'all bright and early in the morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, if the Sabbath doesn't happen to fall on Saturday or Sunday, we're here 7:30. We come in 15 minutes later, simply because it's the weekend, you know. So you get a little bit more time to rest. So 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday and Sunday, and throughout the week, Monday through Friday, we're here 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if it's the Sabbath throughout the week, we're going to rest on that day. So we won't be here on the day that it falls on the Sabbath. And with that being said, remember, this is coming up Tuesday, January the 12th, is the last Sabbath of this moon cycle. So we will not be here Tuesday. But guess what? The new moon is Wednesday. We will spot the new moon on Wednesday, which is going to change the Sabbath for this next new moon cycle to Wednesdays. So after this new moon this Wednesday, when the next week come up, the first Sabbath of this new moon cycle will be the 20th, January 20th, 2021. And guess what? The moon cycle will be, you guys. We will be at first quarter. Remember how I told you? You can actually look outside, and when you see the moon, you can tell exactly where in the month we are at. We can tell which Sabbath of the moon cycle we are at, because the Sabbaths fall on moon quarters, the same moon quarters without fail. So first you have the new moon, then that next week, that next Sabbath, it'll be first quarter. First quarter meaning that the moon is half full, and the part that's like, because we live on this side of the earth, if you was in Africa or something, or actually over there in Jerusalem, you would see it lit on the opposite side, right? So but here in America, on this side, when we go out and we look at the moon, and the moon is half lit up, and the side that's lit up is the right side. If we go out and look, and the right side of the moon is lit up, that means it's the first quarter, it's the beginning of the month. Then that next week, which will be the second Sabbath of that moon cycle, it'll be January the 27th, and it will be the full moon. Remember, the full moon is always the 15th day of the month according to the book of Enoch, and how it teaches us to recognize the moon phases and the days of the month, which also Yahuah points out in the feast days. So we'll know that Feast of Unleavened Bread always starts on the 15th of the month. We got the Feast of Trumpets, which is the first day of the 7th month, right? I'm sorry. Feast of Unleavened Bread is always the 15th day of the first month, with Passover being the night before the 14th day. Feast of Trumpets is always the first day of the 7th month. It's the new moon. And then, y'all get what I'm saying, right? So Yahuah teaches us, he put things out there. If we would pay attention, we would see we catch on to the clues, and it can be verified. And then after the full moon, we go to the last quarter, and this time the moon is half lit again, and the side that's lit is the left side, which will tell us this is the last quarter of the moon before she goes back new again. So when you see the moon lit and half the side of the moon is lit, the left side is lit, that means we're towards the end of the month. It's the last quarter of the month, and as she goes to waning crescent, that'll be the last week, and then she starts new again, and then the next new moon cycle start. All right, y'all, so I hope I explained that in a way we all understand, so it's coming up. So be paying attention, just in case I don't think technology is going to go out, but I'm just saying, if you're ever lost or anything, that's something good to know. It really is. If something happens, all the mayhem going on, you hear different things about EMPs, electricity gonna go out, we're gonna be in the dark and all this stuff. It's possible. It really is. And if that happens, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's something good to know, because first and foremost, it'll keep us on track with what Yahuah told us to keep. Sabbath being the most important, keeping it weekly forever. And then we add in the feast days, right? Okay. So, with that being, that's it, y'all. That's it. Okay, so I ain't got nothing else to say. You're welcome. Thanks again for your dedication and diligence to read to us daily. Thanks for sharing the knowledge that Yahuah has revealed to you. You're welcome. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. All right, y'all. But that's it. We out here, y'all. Peace.